Alrighty, we're live. Hey, everybody. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. Love to hear where you're all tuning in from. That's always one of my favorite parts is getting started and seeing all the people saying where they're from. I'm going to go ahead and click on a couple of these, if I may. Let's see. We got from Sweden, from the UK, from the Netherlands, from Brazil, from Addis, from France, from Portugal, Buenos Aires, Canada, from Athens, Ecuador. Super fun. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day today, as said, and welcome to today's edition of the JavaScript Bootcamp. If you're tuning in for the first time, we're having a lot of fun here. We are learning JavaScript together. We're learning from the Free Code Camp JavaScript certification, and we are here to just keep on going. Today, we're going to be doing another new chapter. If you're interested in signing up, you can find everything here at the bootcamp on classcentral.com. And yeah, let's get started. So yesterday we did debugging, and today we're going to be moving right on along to basic data structures. Now, a lot of this is going to look like stuff we've already done. We're going to be mostly working with arrays and objects and understanding these as different kinds of objects. Some of you who might have been messing around with JavaScript might even know that might have already realized that arrays are essentially a kind of object. It's kind of weird. So, if you're tuning in and you want to catch the previous classes, you'll also find all of the recordings on YouTube, on the Class Central for YouTube. You'll find the recordings in the Class Central dashboard as well. So if my assistant could please put up that link again for us, that would be amazing. Yeah, so let's talk about data structures, because in a lot of programming that we do, what we're essentially doing is manipulating different chunks of data. And a lot of the time, as said in JavaScript, this is going to come in the form of arrays and objects, and sometimes a mixture of the two. You're going to have arrays of objects, and you're going to have objects with arrays in them. So it's going to be a little bit weird, but let's hop right in and have a bit of fun. So let's look at our code first. We've got here a variable called your array, which let's console log that. It's most likely, given that it's just a variable, it's undefined. Totally fine. Here we're going to talk about like what we're doing with arrays, and a lot of this is going to be seeming very familiar to what we've done before. So I'm going to go a little bit faster through it if nobody minds, and bear with me. If you've got questions, we're also going to have a Q&A at the end, so don't worry. Little sip of water. Okay. So we've defined a variable called your array. Complete the statement by assigning an array of at least 5 elements in length to your array variable. Your array should contain at least one string, one number, and one Boolean. So, okay, let's do what they say. We're going to assign this to be an array, which we remember have the square brackets, and we're going to make it at least one string. So we're going to say hello JavaScripters. That's one string, one number. The number 1 is one number, and one Boolean. So we're going to go with true. Then we need 2 more to make it length 5. So I'm just going to give it false, false. Now each of these is separated by a comma. So let's see here. Hello JavaScripters, 1, true, false, and false again. So that looks good. Let's go ahead and run our tests. And there we go. Pat, pat. Cool. Let's move on and work with more data structures. So, of course, we've done this before as well. What we can do with arrays is access specific members of the array using square bracket notation. Again, stuff we've done before. We're just making sure that we've covered all of this array and object knowledge. So set the second position index, 1 of my array, to anything you want except for the letter B. So yeah, the second letter here is B in my array, and we want to change it to be anything else. So let's change it to be anything else. My array, in order to access that member, it is to use bracket notation and the index. Remember, the indexes start from 0. So if we want the second member, we give it the index 1. And with using equals, using the assignment operator, we can now assign that member of the array to be anything else. So instead of B, let's make it Z, last letter. And we can see here console log my array, we can go A, Z, C, and D. So we've now changed the second position index to be anything I want, which is the letter Z. Let's run the tests. And there we go. Pat, pat. Cool. Starting off pretty familiar. Now, let's see. We're now adding items to an array with push and unshift. Again, stuff we've done before. We're just revising here. So we've got here a function called mixed numbers, which takes a parameter, which is an array guessing by the name, and it returns that array. So what do we want here? We've defined a function mixed numbers, which we are passing an array as an argument. We can see that we're doing that here. We're console logging the result of mixed numbers, which takes as a parameter one array with 3 members. The foreign Roman numerals, flashback to last week, the number 5, and the string of the number 6. Not the number, 6 spelled out in letters. Modify the function by using push and unshift to add I, 2, 3 to the beginning of the array. Let's stop there. I'm going to divide this into 2 tasks. But, well, let me read it out the rest. I got impatient. I'm sorry. 7, 8 in Roman numerals, and 9 to the end so that the returned array contains representations of the numbers 1 to 9 in order, which sounds good. Let's start by doing the first part of that. So add I, 2, and 3 to the beginning of the array. And remember, we can do that with the function unshift. Let's do r.unshift and start with the string I. And what I like to do is to always be console logging. What I've done is unshifted I into that, and we can see here it's unshifted to the beginning, which is good. Next, I want to unshift. Could I make it a little bit bigger? Yes, of course, Diego, I'll do that right away. Sorry about that. I hope that's better. Yeah, should be okay. Give me a shout if it's still too small, folks. Where was I? Yes. So now we want it to unshift 2. So let's do that. R unshift, and that's a number 2. It's good. And then we want to unshift 3. R unshift 3. The string 3. Yes. Now, the problem you see here is that 3, 2, and 1 are not necessarily the numbers 1 to 9. So we're actually unshifting in the wrong order. So one thing we can do is say first unshift 3, which adds it to the beginning, remember, then unshift 2, and then unshift 1. That gives us I, 2, and 3. But check out what replay is suggesting here. So replay is suggesting amongst the push part, which we'll get to in a sec, you can also unshift several things. Let's give that a try. Claudia's suggesting the same. Unshift I, 2, and 3. I'm going to be honest with y'all, folks. I had no idea you could do that. Let's give it a try. 2, 3. So check it out. You can unshift with multiple arguments to unshift several members onto an array. I like that. Thank you for the tip. I wonder if we can do the same with push. So let's r.push to the end of the array now. The number 7, the Roman numeral 8, and the number 9. Whoopsie, not 98. So I, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So just like before, we can push several members, as Eduarda says correctly here. And replay also suggested here. Thank you all very much. This looks pretty good, eh? I like it. Let's run the tests and see. Hey, there we go. Pat, pat. Cool. Let's keep going. Just gonna have a little sip here. So I'm gonna say this. I'm doing this as a volunteer in collaboration with Class Central, but Free Code Camp, it's its own organization of volunteers who rely on donations to keep going. If you want to, you can donate a couple bucks a month. They'll highly appreciate it. I'm actually doing it in my other account. Cool. So let's remove items with pop and shift. Very similar to before. just like we can push and unshift items, we can also pop, remove from the end, and shift, remove from the beginning. So let's see what our exercise says. We've defined a function pop shift, which I see here, which takes an array as an argument and returns a new array. Let's modify the function using pop and shift to remove the first and last elements of the argument array and assign the removed elements to their corresponding variables so that the returned array contains their values. Cool. Let's have a look at what we've got here. Challenge is not complete, which is true. So we want to remove, with popped, we'll get the last one, and with shift, we'll get the first one. So let's do that. So we'll let popped equals r.pop, like that. And with shift, we'll do, whoopsie, r.shift, as replay says here. Let shifted equals r shift and popped equals r pop. Now, this is really cute, isn't it? Now it says, now the return, we're returning the last one and the first one, it's challenge complete. I like that. Cool. So that looks good. And folks in the chat are agreeing with me that that's the solution. So let's run our tests. And there we go. Pat, pat. Cool. Let's keep going. New stuff. All right. Now we're going to be removing items using the splice function. Now, what splice does is it takes it takes up to 3 parameters, but for now we'll just focus on those 2, as you can see here in the instructions. And the first 2 specify which index to start removing at, and then after that, how many items to remove after that. Let's play around with it and see what we get. So let's try splicing. So we got 2, 4, 5, 1, 7, 5, 2, 1. And let's r.splice. Let's remove the first 2, right? So that would start at index 0 and remove 2 items. Now what that's done, if you console log now, is it starts at 5 and prints out 1, 7, 5, 2, 1. So it's what I've done here is started splicing out, removing out from the first one and removed 2 elements. What if I want to just remove 1? Well, I just remove 1. What if I want to remove none? Can I do that? I can. Check it out. I started splicing at 0 and removed nothing. What happens if I start, let's see, this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what if I start removing at 9 and I remove 10 items? Nothing, because we are removing out of bounds. What if we remove negative? How silly is that? I love it. What if we remove -1? I have no idea what happens. Let's take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nothing. So it's a little bit safe to mess around with it, but let's, just to be on the safe side, give it values that are inside and the number of values that are inside as well. So we've initialized an array R, use splice to remove elements from R so that it only contains elements that sum up to the value of 10. So I need to remove elements from this array so that what's left adds up to 10. Okay, I think I can do that. Let's see. Just at a glance, I can see, and this is just like messing around with maths in my head. If I were to leave only 2, 5, 2, and 1, 2, 5, 2, and 1, that would be 2 plus 5 is 7, plus 2 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So I want to remove these elements here. Cool. And I can see I need to remove 4 elements, so I'll change that first. And I need to remove from the second one, which is index 1. I've removed from index 1 4 elements. That leaves us with 2, 5, 2, and 1, which if I sum them up, 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5, plus 5 is 10. Phew. Okay. Let's run our tests. Nice. Pat, pat. I've got a question here. Do data structures have anything to do with TypeScript? Yes, TypeScript, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is a layer of, it's a programming language that goes on top of JavaScript and compiles to types. we will not be covering TypeScript in this bootcamp, but TypeScript lets you define types that are made up of data structures. I hope that answers your question. Let's keep those questions coming, folks. I'll be able to answer the majority at the end in the Q&A section. Ruo asks, is there an easy way to get the second splice parameter to be the remainder of the number of elements in the array? I'm not sure I understand the question. I'm sorry, Rudo. Are you asking like remainder as in the remainder operator? Could you please clarify? Maybe follow up in the chat. In the meantime, let's do this next one. So now comes the third parameter of splice. See, we used the first two to be able to say where to start removing, how many to remove for the second parameter, but the second and moving forward parameter lets us replace. You'll see what I mean in just a sec. So let's, before we do any of this exercise, let me just comment that out and leave that function as is. Let's have an array and let it be 1, 2, 3. Now what you can do using splice, let's console log r. What you can do with splice, as I said, is let's say we want to remove the 2. So r.splice will start at index 1 and remove 1 item. That'll leave us with 1, 3. But what you can add as parameters after that is what to replace it with. Let's say you want it to be the middle to be the number 4. Check it out. So we've removed the 2 and replaced it with a 4. But you can add more items, I believe. Yes. See, now we've replaced the 2 with a 4 and a 5. Let's add in more items. Let's splice in a 6 and a 7. That's a U. So we've removed the 2. So we've started at index 1. We've removed 1 item and replaced with it all of these. See? Right there. Hope that makes sense. Now, let's look at what we've got here in our exercise. We've defined a function, HTML color names, which takes an array of HTML colors as an argument. Modify the function using splice to remove the first 2 elements of the array and add dark salmon and blanched almond in their respective places. So we've got dark goldenrod, white smoke, lavender blush, pale turquoise, and fire brick. Cool color names. We want to remove the first 2 and add dark salmon and blanched almond instead. So let's do that. So r splice, and look at that, folks are chiming in the chat. Y'all are so much better at this than I am. So splice 0. Let's do this. So we started 0. We removed 2 items. Then we put in dark salmon. And blanched almond. Look at that. Everybody getting the answer in. I love how enthusiastic y'all are. Thank you. Cool. So let's see what happened now. Instead of dark goldenrod and white smoke, in our result, we have dark salmon and blanched almond. So that's what we want to do. Hopefully, the tests agree. Let's run them. Nice. Pat. Here we go. Hudo asks, so if your array is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you do r splice 1 to remove all of the array values after the number 1 at index 1. Oh, you're asking how to remove everything after the first one. Let's go back real quick, if I may. So let me just comment this out. I understand your question. So you're asking, what if we want to remove everything after index 1? Well, it will require a little bit of math, in my opinion. We want to go until the last index, and we know how to calculate that last index. It's r.a. Juan beat me. Yes, nice. Yes, r.length, exactly, minus, and then remember that the last position is r length minus 1. But given we're starting from here, we want to remove r length minus 1, which is r length minus 2. Oh, splice. Right, so we've removed everything after. Right. Did I do this right? I guess I didn't. My bad. Oh, it's the number, not the array. Exactly. Thank you, Juan. You're absolutely right. So we've removed everything after the first one. And if we add more items, la la la, still the same amount. So we're dynamically calculating how many items are left. Thank you. Cool. Let's bring this back. Good. Let's run our tests. Still good. I'm still going to pat. Let's move on. Awesome. We can now copy array items using slice, not splice, slice. I mix these up all the time. So what splice does for us is it removes and replaces items. What slice does is copy array items for us. Let's read our exercise. We've got a function called forecast, which takes an array and returns an array, and console log forecast with cold, rainy, warm, sunny, cool, and thunderstorms. Cool. Modify the function using slice to extract information from the argument array and return a new array that contains the string elements warm and sunny. Now, here's the thing about slice. Again, a little bit confusing, and I often mix these up. Slice takes only two parameters. The first index is where to begin copying, and the second is not the number of items to copy, but the index where to stop copying. So unlike splice, which says, start here, remove this many, slice says, start copying here and stop copying here. And Catherine, could there be a more inconvenient way of naming these functions? I'd be hard pressed to find one. So we want to just copy out warm and sunny using slice. So we want to set r to be, no, let's const, let's call it sliced r to be r.slice. And remember, for slice, we're going to copy out warm and sunny, which is at index 0, 1, 2. And we'll end copying at 0, 1, 2, 3. I think. We want to then return sliced r. Eduarda, you're right. So what happened? I started copying at 2, but I was supposed to start copying at 4, not 3, because I want to start copying here, but I don't want to stop copying here. I want to start copying here. So before cool. Let's see. Warm and sunny. Thank you very much for your help. So warm and sunny. So we've now sliced. Now, if you, let's console log r. I want to show you something because I was very careful about saying this is copying, not removing. But if you see here, after I've sliced, I'm console logging r. This is still unchanged. So we're not removing it. R remains unchanged. We're copying out those values. Let's run our test and see how we do. Nice. Pat. Whew, let's keep going. Another familiar part from ES6 is the spread operator, which allows us to copy all of the elements of an array. So using the ... we can copy the elements of this array into a new one. Now, very careful. We remember this does not mean that they're both the same array. They're just two different arrays with the same contents, which sounds a little bit weird, but these are separate. These aren't photo. It's like an original and a photocopy. This photocopy we can dribble on. So let's see what we got here. So we want a copy machine. Oh, it is a copy machine. So it's a copy machine that takes one array and a number. For example, it takes an array of true, false, true, and the number 2. It defines a new R, and we while num is bigger than or equals to 1, we do something which we haven't done yet, and you subtract 1 from num. And Omran says, I like it. This is the technical way of saying it. These are two references in the memory for the array. So they're references to two different arrays. Exactly. They still have the same contents. So we do something and we return this new array. Let's console log it, and we'll see that that result is currently an empty array because we initialize an empty array, we do nothing with it, and then we just return that new array, which is empty. So now we'll see what we got here. We've defined a function, copy machine, which takes an array and num as arguments. The function is supposed to return a new array made up of num copies of R. So we're going to make, for example, in this case, 2 copies of this array and return that. Cool. We've done most of the work for you, but it doesn't work quite right yet. Modify the function using spread syntax so that it works correctly. Hint, another method we've already covered might come in handy here. So let's do that. We will push. Every time we go through this loop, we will push a new copy. So new r.push. Now we need to create that copy. And to copy, we can use the spread operator. So r. Boy, sounds a little bit piratey, doesn't it? So what we've done here is onto the new array, we've pushed a fresh copy of R. That's what our copy machine does. So every time we go through the loop, we push a new copy of R. And we can see here our result has 1, 2 copies of true, false, true. These are fresh copies, so we can make 5 copies if we want, and that'll give us a whole bunch of them. Hope that makes sense. Let's run our tests. Nice. Pat, pat. 40% already. My goodness. Ooh. Combine arrays with the spread operator. So with this ability to make copies of an array, we can also integrate all of the members into the middle of an array. Check out this example here. We've got sage, rosemary, parsley, and thyme. And in that array, so this is this array, this is that array, bit of a confusing naming. We've got basil, cilantro, and then all of the contents of here. So all of these will just get plopped into here. Coriander. That array would then have the value basil, cilantro, and there we can see the contents of this array. And then at the end, we'll have coriander. So that's cool. We defined a function spread out, I see it here, to code, that returns the variable sentence. So we've got spread out, we've got a fragment, which is an array made up of 2 strings, to and code. We got sentence, which is we need to change. Modify the function using the spread operator so that it returns the array. Learning to code is fun. Cool. So this is going to be an array made up of all of these words. So we've got length. So we're going to change sentence to be learning to code is fun. So we'll change that to be equals string learning. So far, so good. And we're going to copy the contents of here using the spread operator. So ... fragment. That already. Learning to code. Jazz Gaming says it correctly on index 1 place ... fragment. Nice one. After that, we still need 2 more. Is and fun. Learning to code is fun. Claudia says it correctly. Let sentence equals learning ... fragment, comma, is, comma, fun. Nice. I think we're done. Let's run our tests. Yep. Pat, pat. Is there a similar operator for the dots after the array? I'm going to say no, but I could be wrong. We'll double check that in the Q&A section, but I don't think so because what would it do? I'm not sure. No, I don't think it exists with the dots after the array. I don't think so. Let's submit and go to the next challenge. Another new thing. So we can use the function index of on an array to get the index of an element on that array. Let's give it a try. So let's console. So what do we got here? We've got a function called quick check, which takes an array, and an element. So squash, onions, and shallots, and we're checking if mushrooms is in that array. So what we can do is say our index of, let's console log that just for now. Console log our index of, and instead of passing in mushrooms, let's try onions. So the index of onions is 1. Cool. Let's try with a different string. Let's try with squash. Should be 0. It is. What if we wanted for shallots? 2. Now, what about something that doesn't exist? Carrot. Carrots. Look at that. -1. So if index of returns -1, it means this doesn't exist. This element is not in this array. Good to know. Good to know. Good to know. Good to know. So let's try it with the elem, which are parameter, which is mushrooms. So mushrooms is not present in this array, which makes sense. We can see that. So we've defined a function, quick check, that takes an array and an element as arguments. Modify the function using index of so that it returns true if the passed element exists on the array and false if it does not. How can we do that? We'll need to return a Boolean. That we know. And what we can do is return r.index of now, if it's true, how do we know if it's true? We know it's true if it's not we know it's false if it's -1. So we got 2 options, in my opinion. We can either return the fact that this index is not -1 using this operator, the inequality operator, not equals to -1, pardon me. We can return that. Whoopsie. We can return our index of elem is not equals to -1, which is nice, but I'm a positive person. I prefer elem, that index of elem is bigger than or equals to 0. It should be the same thing. Yeah, because if it's bigger than or equals to 0, it means that it's present in the array because it has a position. It's not -1. Again, however you prefer, there's no wrong answer. There's neither of those two is a wrong answer, in my opinion. Let's see if FreeCodeCamp agrees. Right? Yep. Pat. Cool. We're 50%. Hey, nice. Iterate through all an array's items using for loops. Okay, what do we got here? We're going to be console logging and calling the function filtered array with an array made up of 1, 2, 3, 4 elements. One is a subarray. We're going to call these subarrays. 1 subarray, 2 subarrays, 3 subarrays, 4 subarrays. So far, so good. What do we want our function to do? Because it also takes an elem, a 3. See what it does. We've defined a function filtered array, which takes R, this array, a nested array, and elem as arguments, and it returns a new array. Elem represents an element that may or may not be present on one or more of the arrays nested within R. Modify the function using a for loop to return a filtered version of the past array such that any array nested within R containing elem has been removed. What? Let me try and rephrase this. So what this function does is we give it an array with subarrays and an element. And if any nested array within R, so each of these arrays, if they contain the element, in this case 3, it will be removed. Okay, let me put that in a different way. If the subarray does not have the element 3, then we'll just put it in. If that subarray does not have the element 3, then we'll add it to that new array. as Catherine says, if element is in there, kick it out and return the rest. Yes, I like that. So to do that, we're just going to loop. First, we'll do a loop. We've done for loops before. Let I is equals to 0. We'll do I must be less than r dot length. We're going to iterate through each array. And I plus plus, we've done this before. Cool. Now, and we can use index of. Haha. So let's get that subarray. Let's do const sub r is equals to r at position I. Let me console log. I like console logging. So that prints out this subarray, this subarray, this subarray, and this subarray. And this console log is this one here. Cool. So far, so good. So if we can do that index of stuff, can't we? If subarray of dot index of the element, which is elem. And remember, we want to make sure that it's not in there. So it's if the subarray index of elem is equals to -1, that is, it's not present, then new r dot push sub r. Right? If the subarray index of elem is -1, then we push the subarray onto the new array. Does that sound right? Let me remove this console log real quick, because this is still returning an empty array. So I'm doing something wrong here. So if the index of the element is -1, then we push the sub. Oh my gosh, you're right, replay. It's correct because they all have 3, don't they? This one has a 3, this one has a 3, this one has a 3, this one has a 3. Yeah. So it should be right. It is. It is. Pat. Confused Pat. Let me go back real quick and try it out with an array that doesn't have a 3 in it. Let's say this one has a 5. There it is. Cool. Juan says correctly. All subsets have 3. That's confusing. I don't know if you've all ever heard this one where it's like when your code works on the first try and you're like, hold on. Ooh, that's confusing. Cool. No, but we got it. So because they all have a 3 in it, they all get filtered out. Nice. Let's run our test again. Cool. Pat. Let's keep going. Create complex multi-dimensional arrays. Okay. Let's see what we got here. We've got one array made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 subarrays. This is a 2-dimensional array. Why? Because it's an array made up of several rows. Cool. Why did we const? We did a const, we needed a variable. It wasn't going to change value, so I decided to make it const. It can be a let as well, but if you're not going to reassign its value, then I recommend using const. So what do we got here? We got a nested array, one subarray, and this subarray here has its own set of subarrays. So the dimensions are the number of levels of nesting we go in. So this is, for example, 1 level deep. This is 2 levels deep. This one's 3 levels deep. This one's 4 levels deep. My goodness. This deep array, the deep array is nested 2 levels deep. The deeper arrays are 3 levels deep. The deepest array are 4 levels deep. And the deepest est is 5. While this example may seem convoluted, the level of complexity is not unheard of or even unusual when dealing with large amounts of data. And we can go inside them as we would any array here. Dimitrios. Const isn't supposed to be in capital letters. It's a best practice for constants, yes. This logs the string deepest test. And so yeah, we can go down several layers of that array and access each member to get each layer down. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one because I would love to leave the solution of this, like the understanding of this, as homework, but I'll give it a try. We've defined a variable myNestedArray set equals to an array. Modify my nested array using a combination of strings, numbers, and booleans for data elements so that it has exactly 5 levels of depth. Remember, the outermost array is level 1. So this is level 1, this one here. Somewhere on the 3rd level, include the string deep. And in the 4th level, include the string deeper. And on the 5th level, include the string deepest. Okay. As Catherine says correctly, regarding const, it's one convention, but you'll see plenty of examples that don't use it. Exactly. So this is this is 2 levels deep. Now let's go 3 levels deep. And in that 3rd level, we'll have the string deep. Somewhere in the 3rd level, include the string deep. There it is. I like to put lots of enters to help me visualize those levels. On the 4th level, so we'll go another level deeper. We'll go deeper. On the 5th level, so we'll go another one deeper. We'll go deepest. So we've got a Omran, yes, you're right. Very deep challenge. So 2 levels down, 3 levels down, we've got deep. That's what they want. Yes. 4 levels down, we've got deeper. 5 levels down, we've got deepest. Let's run the challenge. Whew. Pat. Very deep indeed. We're 60%. And we're done with arrays for now. We're going to move on to objects. Again, stuff we've seen before. We've got an object made up of key value pairs. The prop name is apples, and the value is 25. So apples has the object foods has a property apples whose value is 25, oranges whose values is 32, and plums whose values is 28. And we can see it printed out here very nicely. So let me just skip straight on here. A foods object has been created with 3 entries. Using the syntax of your choice, add 3 more entries to it. Bananas with a value of 13. Let's do that. Using the syntax of your choice. Remember, we have 2 choices. We have dot notation and bracket notation. I'm going to use dot notation. So foods dot bananas equals 13. We'll go grapes. Grapes is equals to 35. Could you please explain how to count the levels? Yes, I will also do that, if you don't mind, at the Q&A level section so that we can carry on for now. Juan makes a great illustration here. I'll leave it there. Thank you, Juan. And I'll keep going here. So foods.strawberries is equals to 27. And by the way, folks, remember that the YouTube recording is going to stay up. So at any time, if you want to revise anything, go to the Class Central YouTube channel and you'll find it all there. So apples, oranges, plums. Yes, we got banana set to 13, grapes set to 35, and strawberry set to 27. Looks good. And there we go. Pat. Just going to have a little sip here. Tripped a little. Yeah, let's keep going. So I'm going to modify an object nested within an object. Ooh. So here we've got user activity. So the ID is set to this very big number. The data is set to this string date. And data here is itself an object. The value is an object which has 2 key pairs. Total users is 51 and online is 42. So that's an object within an object. Here we've defined an object user activity, which includes another object nested within it. Set the value of the online key to 45. And again, using dot notation, we can do the same thing as we did before. So we'll say user activity dot data. So we want to go into the data sub object dot online. The sub object is equals to 45. 45, yes. Here we can see the printout. The object data is now set, online is set to 45. Shwoo. All right, run the tests. And there we go. Pat, pat. Let's submit and go to the next challenge. Aha. And now we're going to be accessing names using bracket notation. This is a great example of where bracket notation comes in handy. And oftentimes for me, the confusion between why should I use bracket notation or why does dot notation sometimes not work? Let's take a look at this example. We've got a foods object here. Apples, oranges, plums, bananas, grapes, and strawberries. We've got a function called check inventory, scanned item, and we're gonna console log check inventory apples. So here we're passing in the name of a property. Now, if we wanted to do that, we can use the bracket notation to say, hey, look up the value, the property at this key. So you'll see what I mean. Let's console log. No, let's return because we're console logging the return value. Return foods, and then inside it, scanned item. So we're passing in scanned item. Remember, the value of scanned items is a string apples. So we're saying, hey, on the foods object, let's look up apples, which is 25. Nice and simple. Ooh, we got a comment from Dreamy. These are not data structures. I would argue they kind of are. We're storing the data of foods in a structure. It's maybe not the strictest definition of data structure, but it is one. But thank you very much for pointing that out. So, which received a scan item as an argument, return the current value of the scanned item key in the foods object. You can assume that only valid keys will be provided. Look at that. We're already doing that. So we're returning the foods object, this is value for this key, scanned item. So run the tests. And there we go. Cool. Pat. 75%. You're going to have very little homework, folks, if I keep going like this. We're going to use the delete keyword to remove object properties. We've done this before as well. So we can use delete and then the object value that we want to delete to be able to delete that value. So use the delete keyword to remove oranges, plums, and strawberries from the foods object. So we've got this foods object here, and we want to remove oranges, plums, and strawberries. Let's do that. So we'll do delete foods. Oh, we're going to get to this in a second. Why is type of array an object? Let's do that. Well, no. We'll save it for the Q&A. We've got 10 minutes left. We will get that in a moment. So, delete. Let's delete foods dot oranges. Deleted that. Let's delete foods dot plums. Delete foods dot strawberries. And we'll delete, oh no, that's it. We want to delete foods, oranges, plums, and strawberries. Oranges, plums, and strawberries are now missing from the what's left here of the console log, apples, bananas, and grapes. Oh, Juan. Oh, wait. This doesn't work? Huh. Let's give it a try in the Q&A. Let's give it a try in the Q&A. Well, actually, no. Let's do it now. What's the rush? Ramon, what's the rush, really? Let's give it a try. So let R equals oranges, plums, strawberries. So for, hey, what's this? Let item in R. Let's console log item. I think here's your problem, Juan. See, let item in R is giving us 0, 1, and 2, which isn't quite what we want. I believe what we want is of. Ha. Of. If you do, so this is a fancy loop. What it does is it allows you to assign loop through an array and assign each item of that array in the loop to a temporary variable called item. If we do it like this, delete foods dot, oh, sorry, bracket notation, item. That should work. But thank you for asking. Diego is asking, is it possible to add a new food using push? Push is for arrays, not for objects. If we wanted to add a new food, we would say, for example, I don't know, let new food equals tomatoes. Foods dot, oh, sorry, new food is equals to 5, for example. And you're going to see here where it shows up. So push is for arrays. Cool. Let's bring back those deletes. Apples, bananas, and grapes. Cool. Let's run our tests. And there we go. 80%. Pat, pat. Let's do a couple more. I get too eager. We've seen this before as well. Check if an object has a property. So we can call, for example, has own property, and then pass to it the property name. We can, that'll give us a true or a false. So let's see, we got a function called is everyone here, user object. Console log is everyone here, users. Okay. Finish writing the function so that it returns true if the object passed to it contains all 4 names, Alan, Jeff, Sarah, and Ryan, and returns false otherwise. Okay. So we have to, let's const, let's call it Alan here is equals to user object has own property Alan, right? Alan. Let's console log that. Alan here. True. Okay, we can do it this way. So I'm just going to copy this a couple times because I'm lazy. So instead of Alan here, we want Jeff here. User object has own property Jeff. And we'll do the same for Sarah. Sarah here. Sarah. And Ryan. Ryan. So we want to return that all of these are true. Now remember, these are Booleans. So we can just return Alan here, and remember using the and operator, Alan here and Jeff here and Sarah here. I like how this looks, and Ryan here. I feel it's nice to read. Alan here and Jeff here and Sarah here and Ryan here. And given that they are all in this object, let me just scroll up real quick. Alan, Jeff, Sarah, and Ryan. This returns true. Cool. Let's run our tests. Nice. Pat, pat. Dreamy says very correctly. Don't repeat yourself. Absolutely. There's definitely a drier way to do that. Thank you. So, and here's how we found out how to not repeat ourselves. Iterate through the keys of an object with a for-in statement. Now, remember when Juan was showing us the for of, that was for arrays. But with for-in, we can iterate through, we can do a loop through all of the keys in an object. Let me show you what I mean. So for let user in username in users object. Let's just print those out. Console log user name. That prints out the keys, which are Alan, Jeff, and Sarah. Alan, Jeff, and Sarah. Cool. So console log count online users. What are we supposed to do here, actually? We defined a function count online, which accepts one argument, use a for in statement within this function to loop through the user's object passed into the function and return the number of users whose online property is set to true. An example of a user's object which could be passed to count online is shown below. Each user will have an online property with either a true or a false. So we can depend on each user being either online or not online. Let's give that a try. How do we get that property? Let's do that first. So we'll use, given that we have now the key, we can access that user. So const user is equals to user's object, use our bracket friend, our square bracket friends, user name. That. You'll see we have online false, online true, online false for Alan, Jeff, and Sarah, respectively. Neat. Online false, online true, online false. So we want to count the number of users that are online. I will just use an aggregator for that. So let online, let's use amount online, and it'll start out as 0. Now, for every user that is online, I'll just do a plus plus. So if user.online, remember that's a Boolean, so it'll return true or false. Amount online plus plus. Space, thank you, Ramon. And we need to return that amount. So return amount online. So if we remember, that's giving us a 1. Is that correct? Let's take a look upstairs. Online false, online true, online false. So there we can see, yes, folks. Good question from Dreamy Player. If you want to have the Discord link, you'll find it through the forum for the bootcamp. Please, if my assistant could please put up the link to that, that'd be great. Thank you. So online false, let's set this to true and see what happens. There's a 2. What if they're all true? That's a 3. Let's undo a couple times. Back to false. What if I put this to false? That'll get false. There. 0. There we go. 0. So back to true, and there's our 1. Cool. So we're aggregating the number of users for whom the online property is true. And there's something really nice about user.online. It's just very readable. I like it. Let's run our tests. And there we go. Pat, pat. 90%. Ooh, I think I got time for one more. Generate an array of all object keys with object.keys. So let's see what we got here. We got users, Alan, Jeff, Sarah, and Ryan, and these are all age 27, online, age, online, and so on and so forth. Juan asks, why can't we directly access online with username online? That's because online in there needs quotes. With bracket notation to access the property name, we need this name. That's it. The name of the property, which is quotes. With dot notation, you don't need the quotes. Hope that makes sense. So what are we doing here? So we got get array of users object, console log or get array of users. Finish writing the get array of users function so that it returns an array containing all of the properties in the object it receives as an argument. What? So that it returns an array containing all of the properties in the object. All of the properties. And look at that. We can also generate an array which contains all of the keys stored in an object with object.keys. Let's give that a try. Before we do any of this stuff, let me just quickly here define const, and I'm going to make a dog because I love dogs. It's an object with name Bilford and legs set to 4 legs. So apparently, if we use object.keys and pass to it the object, in this case, dog, this gives us an array of the properties of an object. So object.keys and giving it the dog, so any object, will give us the properties as an array. Now, what if we do that with users? Let's give that a try. That'll give us Alan, Jeff, Sarah, and Ryan. Why? Let's go back up real quick, because this object has 4 keys: Alan, Jeff, Sarah, and Ryan. So we just want to return that array of users. So I kind of accidentally already solved it here. Object keys. So I'm just going to delete that here. So return object.keys with that object. This can take any object. This could have taken, see, we're giving it any object as a parameter and we're returning the keys of that object. In fact, what if I do users.Alan? Look at that. I gave it the sub-object Alan. Catherine asked my question. How would you get the inner level keys to show? I just did it here. With users.Alan, I would pass those. It's like you read my mind, Catherine. So, but we don't want to do that. We want to get the ones, we want to get the users themselves. So I think that's done. Let's run our test. I'm a little bit over time, I realize. So this is our last one. Let's see. Hey, pat. So there's one exercise left. So you will have to do modify an array stored in an object as homework. So nice. We've got our homework. Let me just quickly jump out to the exercises so you can visualize what the homework is. So we're back here at basic data structures. We've done 19 out of the 20 exercises. So your homework will be to do this last one for tomorrow. So modify an array stored in an object. Did I pat? I hope I did. I'll pat just in case. So modify an array stored in an object. And tomorrow we're going to be doing our next project. If I scroll down just a little bit, expand courses, we're going to be doing the Caesar cipher tomorrow. I'm going to link to that. So dink, and I will take this link and paste it into the chat. So tomorrow we'll start with the Caesar cipher. And the way the projects work is I recommend as homework as well to try and think about how to resolve this on your own. Tomorrow we will join up and I will try my best to show you the solution that I have and how I came up with it. So not obligatory for you to do it my way, and my code is not going to be the best code. It's just going to be a way of doing it. One that makes sense to me and hopefully will make sense to you too. So yeah, again, homework is to finish off basic data structures. And with that, we're done. How about some Q&A, folks? Oh, I can't find your recent videos on the Class Central channel. I think that might be because let's go to the YouTube Class Central channel real quick. Class Central. What could be happening is because it's a. Let's have a look here. Open up. So if you go to, this needs some zooming in. There we go. You should be able to find the previous ones here. So this is the one we're doing as we speak, which is a little bit Inception. Yesterday we did debugging. There's a Roman numeral converter. You'll find all of them here. If some of them don't show up yet, they might show up in past live streams. So if you go here, uploads, past live streams, you'll find them there as well. We just need to, I think, I'm not an expert on YouTube, but I think you need to like flip a switch to put it in the uploads. My assistant will certainly know more than I do. But yeah, if in doubt, check the past live streams in the dropdown. Maxim asks, is it important to be on Discord as well? What am I missing if I'm not using Discord? So to clarify, Discord and the forum, which is in group, I think it's group.glasscentral.com. Yeah. These are both places where you can ask questions of your fellow learners, and I might be able to help you with some of those there. If you're not on Discord, that's totally fine. If you're not on the forum, also totally fine. They are there for you to be able to talk to your colleagues, learn from one another, ask questions. I highly recommend helping one another if you know the answers as well. I find that learning, one of the best ways to learn is to answer questions. So totally up to you. My advice for learning logic faster. Could you elaborate on what you mean by learning logic faster? Like a lot of these exercises that I've done, like the ones here, the ones from exorcism.org, for example, these will help you sort of think abstractly. I find them think abstractly and sort of go from there. So just keep practicing, I would say. Try to explain. I know one. Rubber ducky programming. If you're stuck on something, explain the problem to a rubber ducky. That totally helps me. Like if you're not familiar with them, rubber duckies are these little toys that look like ducks. And sort of explain to your toy, to your rubber duck, what the problem is and how you're trying to solve it. And that helps me unlock what I'm trying to explain. Hope that helps. My equal plus sign button broke. Oh no. Oh, sometimes I find that like blowing a little compressed air under the keyboard helps me, but if it's completely broken, I hope that doesn't completely inconvenience you and you can find a way to be able to get those copy paste. I'm so sorry, Sweat and Cookies. Will the Discord group close after our course is completed? We're going to leave it open for a while. Can't tell you how long, but the aim is to have it open for a while. Yeah. Danzy says, you won't find the videos if you're on the home section. You need to go to the video section. Thank you. Much better explained than me. So as I get it, for an item in object does not really iterate in the original object, but just in a sort of array with the key names. Yes, it'll iterate through each property name. Exactly, each key name. Totally. Totally recommend. Yeah, so totally, that's how it works. Elioskas asking, what if we don't have a rubber duck? Honestly, I don't use a rubber duck. I have this little toy here. I'm not going to spend too much time. I have this little penguin like a little mix of a penguin and a, oh, I'm blocking it. Penguin and a dog. I find it really cute. Whatever works for you. So, I joined later in the bootcamp. Any advice on how I can catch up faster as I'm watching old and new street live streams and it seems like a lot? Absolutely don't stress yourself out. I would say catch up with the old streams, and we're going to do more boot camps throughout the year, so don't worry if you're joining later. Totally fine. This is meant for something for you to follow at your own pace as well. So you're not losing anything by missing the live section, unless you have a burning question. But again, you can put those in the forum or on Discord. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know there was such a thing as rubber duck debugging. Thank you, me. Cool. Leandra asks, what is the site? Could you please post here? Which site are you referring to? If you're looking for the YouTube videos, you can find these through, oh, do you mean this site? This is freecodecamp.org. If you're talking about the YouTube recordings, you can also find those in the Class Central dashboard, which you see here at the bottom. Yeah. Oh, Juan gives some good advice. Come to the office hours. Yeah, if you've got questions, also come to the office hours. We try to have those as often as we can. Can't promise them every week because we are human beings who run out of energy eventually. But yeah, I'm just gonna, if we don't need this for now, I'm just gonna be here. Hi. Yeah, let me bring this over to my other screen so I can talk to you all better. Yeah. Any other questions? I didn't drink all my water. That's a first. So I said for tomorrow, what we'll do is we will do the Caesar cipher exercise. I said my just going to present the way I did it, but it's not the best way. Absolutely find a way that works for you, and maybe it'll help you unlock a solution that works for you. Bogdan asks, do we plan to do other free code camp courses in the future other than JS and web design? We would like to. I can't promise anything. let me just reshare my screen if I may. So one that I would love to do is the front-end development library certification. But again, can't promise anything just yet. Oh, is there a guest session this week? Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Tomorrow, you'll find everything in the Class Central. You find everything through the events there. Tomorrow, no, day after tomorrow. I'm sorry, I've lost my track of time. Exactly, we're gonna have a guest session on Thursday called Everyone Matters, an Inclusive Approach to Design, Development, and Testing from Parham. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be about accessibility. It's going to be about inclusivity, how to make websites and design and program software in a way so that folks can be more included in that process. Folks, for example, who use screen readers can use your software. Highly recommend that. The exact time for it, you'll find you'll find the exact time in the classcentral.com dashboard. So what do we said? Juan asks, in Spanish, he's asking, when will this bootcamp be in Spanish? I would love to do it to complement with this one. I'm going to answer both in Spanish and English, if I may. No hay planes de hacerlo en español todavía, pero quizás en el futuro me encantaría hacerlo. So in English, there are no current plans to do this in Spanish yet, but I would love to do it in the future. Who knows? Thank you for your question, Juan. So, yes, this will be on Thursday. Exactly. I thought the rubber duck debugging was actually a site for helping us. No, I'm sorry. It's a technique for doing rubber duck programming. Yeah, sorry, I was completely unclear there. Oh, will there be a session on how to get into the workforce, even freelancing? Thank you for your feedback. We don't have anything confirmed yet, but noted. I will make a note of that. Catherine says, very right. Parham's talk is great. I recommend watching it. I'm super excited. Yeah. Now say it in German. I will not say it in German. My German is okay. Yes, guest session. Juan asks, what operating system do you use for work? I use a little bit of everything. I'm currently using Mac OS for the streaming, but I'll do development work in Windows and Linux as well. Ankit asks, YouTube should have dual audio mode. Yeah, but how would I do that? I can't speak two languages at once. I want some freelance advice. Want to start this year. Yeah, well, I've actually freelanced for a very long time. I can give you a little bit of advice. Let's see. A little bit of advice would be be very conscious of your limits, if I may suggest. Don't take on too many clients at once. It becomes as a person who loves to make people happy, it's very easy for me to say yes. Put yourself out there. Tell people that you're looking for freelance work. I've often, sometimes when I get approached for a full-time job on, say, LinkedIn or something, I'll tell them, hey, you know what? I'm not actually looking for a full-time job, but are you looking for a freelancer? I could offer you some of that. These are kind of things. Look for local groups. There's a Vienna freelancers group here in Austria, for example. Totally something you can do. Talk to folks is something I would recommend. Approach folks. Maybe somebody, if, for example, I've spent early in my career making websites for doctors and different doctors, for example, something that helps. Yeah. Any other questions? Have a little sip of water while y'all type. By the way, I do live a little bit in the future. Exactly. So like I think it takes like 5 or 10 seconds for the chat to catch up with the stream. I think it's like a Twitch and YouTube thing. So I'm seeing your questions a little bit later than they come in. Sammy asks, so if I can't explain the theory to a rubber duck, what should I do? I keep on rewatching until I accept the concept. Something that's been coming up a lot over the last few weeks that I totally want to touch on again. is something that I recommend is to not try and force understanding a concept fully on the first try. It took me a very long time to understand a lot of the concepts that I'm confronted on with a daily basis. Practice helps. For example, there are lots of different places with exercises like Exercism and Free Code Camp where you'll do things like recursion, like classes. You'll see them a lots of time throughout your career, and getting to the point where you're like, oh yeah, I think I've done this before. It's that classes thing. Reading up the documentation, seeing examples, asking for help. These are these are totally ways to do that I would recommend. It takes time. It takes time for these concepts to fully click. I think I said it yesterday. Promises, for example, from the ES6 section didn't click for me fully until last year. It happens to a lot of it happens. I'm going to semi-confidently say it happens to all of us. Oh, Fabio gives great advice. Help your folks in the boot camp. Great advice. Answer questions. If folks are asking for, like, a lot of the time you'll see folks being like, hey, I don't understand this code. How does this work? That can help. Can I explain freelancing? I'm sorry, I was unclear. Freelancing is working independently. So instead of working for a company full-time or part-time, you're kind of, a lot of people call it being your own boss. You get clients who pay you a certain amount to say, hey, will you make me a website? You make a quick contract, and then you get paid accordingly. It's working independently. So you're kind of your own company making different jobs, different software, different consulting for different companies or clients. Yeah. I just arrived, so I missed what's happening. Oh, okay. So you're wondering about map filter reduce. Let me show you what we did just now, just so you're not. Today we did the basic data structure. Why is this not up to date? Let me refresh. Don't tell me I lost my progress. Please, that would be so sad. Collapse courses, basic data structures. So we did basic data structures, which does not include map and reduce. We will be doing that in the functional programming section, I believe the week after next. The last week. It is the last week. Oh my goodness. Yes, we'll be doing that on the final week of the boot camp. So we'll be doing map and filter and reduce and all of those there. Oh yeah. Exercise sites. Totally. Let me paste them here. Exorcism. Exorcism.org is one that I like a lot. I actually stream myself doing those sometimes. One that I've been recommended a lot is Code Wars. So I'll paste that one in the chat too. These are some places with exercises that you can use. I'll also put those links up in the forum in the Discord. So if I don't, remind me, please. Oh, I like what Juan says about like understanding these concepts. It's like having an idea, and with the use of the subjects, we'll get it. I think that's very well put. Any books on JavaScript you would recommend? Oh, I had one. Let me get back to you. If folks in the chat have any recommendations for books, oh no. Being on camera just completely empties my brain sometimes. I apologize. JavaScript fundamentals book. What was it called? There's a great one. Ah, found it. Yes. Here's one. How do I do this? Here's one that I recommend. Eloquent JavaScript. So this will have, if reading books is your thing, and I believe the whole book you can read in your browser. Yes, that's awesome. So I'll put the link up in the chat. This book, I've heard very highly recommended. Folks, yes, eloquent JavaScript. See, folks agree. So I'm just going to put a link to that in the chat. Cool. And there's some other recommendations. Thank you. I love it when great minds think alike. I was like, something JavaScript, something. Anyway, any other questions, folks? not, we'll start wrapping up. We'll do one more question, if I may. It's from 2018, but I think most of the materials, I mean, ES6, I believe, is from 2015. So this should be fairly up to date, I would say. Cool. Oh, it even covers backend stuff. Node.js and a project. I love it when we have projects. That's super cool. I'm not sure I can answer this responsibly. Why is my hair so great? I don't have an answer for that. I apologize. Lockdown hair, I suppose. Is there any good book for C-Lang? Do you know what? I do have one. I knew having this book around. My stuff is gonna fall. Okay, I do have a book. I had this book in university, The C Programming Language by Brian Kernighan and Dennis Ritchie. I believe they co-created the C programming language. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. That's a good book. I'll put a link up. C programming language, completely unrelated to the bootcamp, I know. C programming language. Don't have one here. I'll see if I can find a link. So one last question from Juan. I was trying exercism and just do the exercises on Code Camp. Any sandbox with console for JavaScript? I usually use the console in my browser, if that's what you mean. And I believe the ones on Exercism, which you can do in your browser, they also have console logging, for example. I hope I understood the question correctly. Leandro asks, will we learn how to put JavaScript alongside an actual website? So not strictly within this bootcamp. Let me go back here. Let me just take a look. So we've done basic JavaScript, ES6, regular expressions, debugging, basic data structures. Tomorrow we'll do the Caesar cipher. Next week, we'll do basic algorithm scripting, object-oriented programming. Week after that, we'll do functional programming and intermediate algorithm scripting. Then we'll do the last couple of projects, and then that's it. That's the JavaScript bootcamp. Next, I would love to do a front-end one. And during the office hours, we've occasionally messed around a little bit. The videos are up on classcentral.com in the YouTube channel as well. You'll find them there. Patricia recommends a sandbox, Run.js. There you go. I don't know it myself. Cool. You mean a JavaScript playground? Yeah, exactly. A sandbox / playground, I believe, is the right one. Cool. All right. I'd say let's wrap up for today. So tomorrow we'll do the Caesar cipher. Homework is to finish basic data structures. So do the last exercise and start looking at the Caesar cipher. Tomorrow I will implement a solution from my idea, and we'll discuss a little bit of your ideas and see where we go from there. And finally, last homework also is to take it easy. You're doing great, everybody. Can you believe we're already more than halfway through this? I keep saying that. Everyone's doing amazing. Best of luck to you in your learning. Remember, questions and answers, forum and Discord, links you've seen a couple times there. I'll put them up just once more. Here's the forum. And yeah, thanks everybody, and see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and see you soon. See you tomorrow. Bye now.